So hello everyone, I think we are live streaming now. I'm really honored and excited to be with my colleagues here in this symposium that we've been waiting and working for a long time. And we'd like to see the experiences from both sides about use of wood for communities. And we have Therese Kriesel, we have Robert Schmitz, and we have Evren Başbuğ. And I'd like to start with Therese Kriesel. She's an architect, SAR, MSA, working as head of urban planning at Skellefteå municipality. Did I pronounce it right, Therese? And she has a Master of Architecture with reference to an international background and is working with a broad perspective of architecture and planning, always putting the human at the center, with an aim to design for the human brain in scale of and for social habitat development. In her work, Therese tries to interpret the way we as humans collaborate within society in the process of city and landscape development, always aiming for a sustainable path, hopefully leading to a human life in climate balance in accordance with the 17 global goals for sustainable development. The floor is yours. Therese, would like to see your experience.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will share my screen and start. This is where I'm at, and I will start from the beginning.
We can see the presentation.
Yes, but not the first picture. So it was a bit slow before when we tried it.
No problem. No problem. Don't worry.
It's not moving.
Could you press on the, sometimes when you change the active window, such a problem that maybe click on the presentation with the mouse.
Yeah. Oh,
and now maybe it will move.
Now I found it. Yes.
All right.
So we're all set. I would like to start. I would like to start my presentation by sharing a starting picture from the docks by the river in the central city of Skellefteå municipality. And in Skellefteå, I think we are in progress. And part of the green transition is actually adding green architecture. I put the questions there, but I think I've answered them myself because we are in a transition towards a sustainable future. Having these docks used to be a parking lot before, and opening up for the people in the city, it was a natural course for us actually to use wood by the river in the public space. It adds and confirms sort of the tradition and history of the city, because Skellefteå is in the middle of the woods up north, and it's always been part of our tradition to build in wood, to craft in wood, and we also have a construction firms which delivers not only nationwide in Sweden but also globally. And as a very natural way to deal with this is to actually part of a nationwide movement we took on to create a wood construction strategy for the city and for the municipality as a whole. And it was adopted by the municipality and the council in 2014. But I would say it started long before that. We are eager to use wood, and we have been aiming to use wood as much as possible since 1996, where the legislation changed and it was possible to build higher than 4 stories in Sweden. And actually our wooden construction strategy started in 2004, and we've had a lot of construction since then. This parking house that are shown in this picture, which is open to the public, was erected in 2009 to 2011, and it's completely built in wood. And we have just about 50 different types of building and projects built in wood, and many more of them, of course. And this wood construction strategy is actually a sustainable statement, I would say. This is part of our way. This is a tool for us to actually have a sustainable construction path ahead. And how do we see the wooden strategy? We see it built on 3 corners of sustainability. It's I would say the main part is, of course, the society. What will it do with society? Well, it's one of the corners of our society where our commercial sector is built on that. But we also have we also have the campus, which includes 2 universities that are on site in Skellefteå, where we actually pick up the academic side of it, where also the commercial sector and the companies who will provide products and modular products in wood for not only Sweden, but also global wide, they are part in this in this idea. And we focus on it also out of a climate perspective. This is our way to contribute, and for Skellefteå, the inhabitants to actually contribute to the climate goals. And so we see it as part of the new industry area. And of course, this builds together, it makes the business, it also gives us a sustainable economy. It's part of our economy. And to show you just about how we see this built together as one picture, we see it as a triangular way of working, where more knowledge and also the surfaces between the encounter between different fields will give you more knowledge. It's a collaboration, and it gives us courage to further development. This is one good example of another public function in Skellefteå. It's the longest pedestrian and bike bridge in Europe, as a hanging bridge, and it also gives data every minute. It hangs there about how it collaborates with humidity and temperature and so on, and sends the data to the campus. So this is building our encouragement, building knowledge every day since 2004, I would say. How do we look upon the wooden construction strategy and how we work with it in the public? We see it as said before, we place it within urban planning and architecture and the design of architecture. And we see it as a collaboration of human senses. It's and based on our human ability, and it's how we actually read our environment that we have to act on and from. And it's actually wood is used a lot in Sweden, not only in the north, but particularly in the north. We have a lot of old buildings as well in wood, and it actually gives identity, and it builds and it creates a natural environment actually, because it makes you you can orientate when you see something familiar, and it gives you a place at mind also. And as we do that, we try as much as possible, and we do it with a focus on the human habitat. We do it with a focus on the human capacity of the brain and the senses connected. And also that we want to create a good human habitat. We want to also, as a part of a strategy that we have, a development strategy, that we want to attract more people into our city. So you could say that society is actually the main focus for us when it comes to the wood construction strategy, and being part of that a long run strategy that we have to not only survive but also to develop. Sara Kulturhus, which you will later hear about, was part of that very strategy, because cultural events, meetings will make people grow and develop. And so Sara is not only a symbol for the wooden strategy, it is actually a symbol also for the will to grow and to develop, because we are putting culture in the middle of the city. And we could also say that, yes, this is a part. We want to save the world. It indicates a healthy development, but at the same time, it creates a good base for growing and for economy. And I think it's very important. And for our politicians, it's very, very important to have a good base, not only to be sustainable, but it has to be sustainable in all three corners, in society, in climate, and in economy. But it's basically based on these 7 global goals, and it's the aim for a sustainable life. And a part of the sustainable life is of course also that you want to attract people, you want to grow, and you want to be able to give the social needs to all your inhabitants. And part of that is to change the way that the age curve of the inhabitants. So we need to attract, and through this strategy and through imposing the wooden construction strategy, and just merging them together and putting all the knowledge together, I think we've done a pretty good job. And I think White, to their proposal, we've not only achieved to change how we see we look upon ourselves, but we also get a lot of attention from all over the world about what we're doing. And it feels good to actually know that on this path, both with the wooden strategy and also bringing back wood into our daily lives and the architecture, because this city used to be all in wood before we found gold. And this is the modern wooden strategy, and it's bringing us back into the global light, so to say. So this is a picture from what The Guardian wrote about the city, about the battery factory, and about our strategy for growing. It's sort of like the future city of sustainability. And that was all from me, really. It's hard to grasp a lot in a few minutes, but it's that's what I really wanted to share with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Therese. Very well managed time, by the way. You still have a few minutes left, but we'll use it for the discussion. Instead of like opening short, let's say, conversations after each presentation, if you also agree, I'll pass to the next presentation, so we have a bigger time complete, so we can discuss without any interruption. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Therese.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to go to Robert Schmitz of White Arkitekter, and I'd like to say a few words about him. He's a partner at White Arkitekter. Robert is a well-acclaimed lead architect with an extensive experience from commercial projects with complex programs. The projects often have a public content with a large flow of visitors, as the one that you're going to talk about also. He has won several prestigious competitions and prizes for their efforts, including the new design for Tabi City Hall, for which he received an IDEA Gold Medal Award in Los Angeles 2017. Robert is currently, among other projects, lead architect for Sara Cultural Center, located in Skellefteå, am I right? Skellefteå, which claims to be one of the world's tallest timber building. And we're going to hear about it in detail from Robert now. The floor is yours, Robert.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And I also going to share the screen like that, and full mode like that. And thank you, Therese, for showing Skellefteå and explaining the power and will of how a municipality or the public sector can push this transition towards a more sustainable approach, and to build more sustainable. And I'm gonna give you today an example of that and the result of the modern timber strategy that the city of Skellefteå has achieved. Sara Kulturhus, which started for us in 2015 as a competition launched by the municipality. And the reason they wanted this culture center was to attract the city center and make the entire region more attractive, and grow from 70,000 to 90,000 inhabitants during a number of years. So by culture, they wanted to define the city again, and it's the start of a revitalization process that will change the entire city. We are standing in the main foyer, and as you probably guessing, I'm going to focusing on timber, and has been our strategy through the entire design process to push that as well. How far can we go working with timber? The program set from the competition was that the culture center itself should be a brave culture center in its content, and working with collaboration and enhancing the different culture operations within. So we said that, okay, this is going to be brave. Then we also wanted to be brave in a sustainable point of view. So our proposal was to make this entirely constructed in timber. And here it is. I think it's the same image as the one in the Guardian and the newspaper. The high rise is 20 stories of mass timber, all the way up to the top. Here our part of our design scheme was to show as much as possible from the construction timber. So what you see here is the shaft, or the elevator course going all the way up. And this is, of course, we are introducing an entirely new scale in this quite small city, but doing it with timber, we thought that this could be something that the people of Skellefteå could connect to, because they have a long tradition working in timber, and they're depending on the industry. And as Therese also explained, the academia working with different types of constructions in timber. So why not a culture center as well, not just a bridge and a parking space. So the project has really been about collaborations between all the stakeholders, finding a vision that we were going to do this, because this project has never been done before and we have no precedent. So we really had to study everything, that all the different challenges within this project to realize it. And now it stands. It opened 2 weeks ago to the public, the last part of it. So I think it's full on production in this building right now. I'm very happy about that. The site is the most central plot in the city. It's located just between the main square and the future train station, the travel center. So, but before the culture center came here, this plot was used as a bus station. So it's quite narrow and long a thing, but and the program fills the entire plot. It's 17,000 square meters of culture center, including 6 stages for performing arts, ranging from 1,200 down to 80 people. And we have the Museum Anna Norlander, we have an art gallery, we have the city library, and we have different backstage production areas like a forge and for carpentry. And in the high rise, we have the hotel with 3 different restaurants and a spa on top. And the spa with a pool, with an infinity pool on top was the last thing that was added in the program. So we have been working with extending the program throughout the entire production and design phase. This building is, of course, tailored to fit its purpose, but it is also made for flexibility. And we didn't want to define the spaces as a certain role. We want to make beautiful spaces that people can connect to and adapt, like here in the foyer where the local dance company has doing their repetitions instead of in the backstage areas. So, and that's something that's also it's a sustainable approach, that we want the entire building to become alive and be used and utilized by the people of Skellefteå. And also throughout the building, we wanted to expose the timber and use that as a guidance running through the building. For example, we have these trusses that we are having as an ornamentation, but also filling its function with the long spans that they're providing in the ceiling. And here it makes an example of our methodology where we're talking about material optimization. Here we have the timber taking the pressure as it bests, but then we have the steel taking tension, so that we have this character of the room. The different public floors are connected through a number of staircases so that they can be disconnected or working together working independently side by side, or working together, which is also an idea of this building, is that we want to have collaborations and thinking, and that's generated to make new ideas. We had in the center of the plot, or in the complex, there lies the grand auditorium, or stage 1 as we call it. It has 1,200 seats, and it had a retractable seats, so we can be up to 1,500, and it's up and running. I think it's been sold out almost every night since it opened. And this is me, but I didn't get sold out, sorry. I didn't have any audience. Hopefully I have more audience here. And the walls and the structural walls and the acoustic panels are all made in solid timber. And we worked with different solutions to work with the requirements of the acoustics to create as good venue as possible. And in the end, the easiest solution by just using solid timber was the best. So that's also something that we worked with, innovative way of finding simple solutions to a very complex situation. And this created a library of solutions since it's tailored and fills so many functions in the building. We have a number of different technical solutions how we solving this problems. For example, we have 27 different types of outer walls. But as you can see, from ground up, the building is entirely made in timber with glue lamps, columns and beams, and shear walls for CLT. The high-rise consists of pre-manufactured 3D CLT modules stacked for 13 stories between two stabilizing cores in CLT as well, reaching 20 stories up. But in the top, we had to use some concrete for the two top floors just to prevent the building, since the material is so light. We needed to prevent it to sway too much, so so you don't get seasick while being up there or sleeping in your hotel room. And then of course, we have concrete foundation, and we also have a cellar underneath the high rise. It's a small part of the entire footprint. For the hotel modules, we to gain time and save time and production, we learned that we did them in 3D model in a factory just outside of Skellefteå. So the entire building is from locally sourced spruce, harvested in a radius of about 100 kilometers around Skellefteå, and into the sawmill, where they produced the CLT boards, which were then transported to the factory, which were, it's about 50 kilometers outside of Skellefteå, where they were mounted and assembled in a safe environment, and then transported back into the construction site and lifted on site in the end. So from your right side, you see the first module, and then the result on the opening day. I think I took this picture, and this allows for a fantastic view with a glazed window towards the city and overlooking the city and the river of Skellefteå. And here you can see the exposed CLT walls and CLT ceiling, and that's what holds the module together. And here we have an image of illustrating how they are stacked on top of each other. So this construction sites become not construction, it's more an assembly with carpenters that's just taking these pre-manufactured modules out and put them on site. And this in this way we saved about a year in construction time. The method of doing building like this it gets really fast, and the record was half a floor a day, but there was a little bit of wind sensitive this process. We also worked with digital design in order to be able to really to interact with all the stakeholders and knowledge sharing. We used BIM, Revit, and where we could do simulations and work with sustainability factors. We worked with VR and visualizations to get the client to an understanding what we were doing, but also everyone to really see, because we're using so much construction timber, it was important for everyone to understand that it had a reason why we needed to be very careful for the timber. We have done an LCA, a climate analysis report of the project. It shows that within 50 years, this building will be climate positive, carbon negative. It will sequestering almost twice as much carbon in the building and in the timber than the embodied carbon that used for production. And here is the last image of a sustainable future in the timber city of Skellefteå. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for this impressive result. As a colleague, really, I envy you. Robert, wonderful time management again. We have 2 more minutes for discussion. Thank you. Now,
yeah, it was a little bit rough in the end, but I hope I made it.
no, everything was really clear.
Okay, good.
And thank you very much. Wonderful presentation. Now I'd like to pass to Evren Başbuğ, who was born in Ankara in 1981. He graduated from Middle East Technical University and then finished his master in Bilgi University. Throughout his professional career, he has won more than 20 awards, national and also in international platforms and programs. Evren Başbuğ has been selected as one of the 14 young under 40 architects for the Young Architects Selection, GAMS, organized by the Circle, proudly. So in 2018, Evren Başbuğ was awarded again the National Architecture Award in the Buildings Public Space category with Bostanlı Footbridge Sunset Lounge, which we'll be seeing in detail in his presentation today. And he's the founding partner of Colloquium.com, an interactive professional platform which was online between 2008 and 2019. I wish it did continue, Evren. Really, it was a really wonderful platform. He taught as a part-time studio instructor and is still continuing to teach in several academic institutions. He was a jury member in several competitions, both for students and professionals. And he's also a member of the Architects Professional Committee in Izmir Chamber of Commerce. And now the floor is Evren Başbuğ.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry.
We see the presentation, just maybe full screen. Okay.
All right. So today I think I'm going to use Therese's 3 minutes and Robert's 2 minutes also. I will try to talk short. But
so you owe them a coffee later on.
Yeah, of course. But unlike other presentations, like many presentations that I've made in the last couple of years, I decided not to talk about architecture today. Not to take it very long, and it's also gets boring at some point, you know. So I will try instead to put some emphasis on the users a little bit. I will talk about 2 cases that we have been involved in for the last couple of years. From 2012 to 2019, for approximately 7 years, we have been involved in an ambitious urban regeneration project, which we worked on a 6 kilometers long urban coastline of Izmir, one of the most unique cities in the western region of Turkey. Our office was the leading team for a multidisciplinary group of professionals, which was responsible for the development and design and regeneration of the northern coast of this metropolitan Bay area. For the first stage of the project, we developed a master plan, and then we have designed multiple interventions on this master plan. And in the last couple of years, several of these projects has been constructed, which you can see with the green tag here. And many of them are in line also. But I can easily say that the majority of the northern coastline has been regenerated today. Today, after briefly talking about the design ideas behind these 2 projects, I will just show a couple of photographs of each of them, which are in close proximity with each other, actually. The Bostanlı Footbridge and Sunset Lounge, which you see at the left, and the Pavilion by the Sea, which is on the right. Of course, in line with the theme of this symposium, I chose these two projects with regard to the use of timber, as you may have guessed. But instead of trying to emphasize the design features and material details, I would like to point out the influential impact of these projects at the end for the users. Our design decisions of the master plan stage were very much related with the unique lifestyle of Izmir. The city today has around 4.5 million inhabitants. Unlike any other metropolis with this size, Izmir has a really laid back and relaxed way of life, especially in hot summertime. You may almost feel that you're living in a holiday resort or something. This is somehow related to the rhythm of the daily life in the city. Actually, everyone and everything moves really slow in the city. People always have lots of time, and they won't ever hurry for anything, as if they want to enjoy every second of their lives. And most of the time they seem really happy. So like many Mediterranean cities, living outdoors is somehow one of the main characteristics. A 40 kilometers long urban coastline acts as the #1 public space in the city, serving as a socially inclusive domain for people. Sorry. What we did with the master plan stage was to basically analyze the existing situation on this very active urban public space and to improve its physical qualities regarding to the already existing user behaviors. So while doing this, we tried to experiment on the possibilities of the section to diversify the everyday shoreline experience. This photograph has been taken before 2011. As you can see, most of the urban coastline was an infill land before, and with a rather mediocre landscape on it. This location, this actual location of the photograph has been chosen by the local authority as a kickoff intervention project for the whole coastline. As you can see, a small creek meets the sea here with an artificial breakwater structure and a small fishing port behind. What we have proposed for this unique location was a bridge that connects the two sides of the coastal promenade and the sunset viewing lounge adjacent to it. Both functions were somehow in line with the unique lifestyle of Izmir and the experiences of users. I mean, the local authority was somehow skeptical about this viewing the sunset function at first, but later on the idea grew on them too. Since it is also a space for observing celestial bodies, I mean, it can be considered as an outdoor version of a planetarium for me, at least. I certainly remember that in one of my interviews for an architectural magazine, I mentioned the phrase, a public space which makes you feel like you're in your living room. It's I think a nice coincidence with the theme of this panel, or maybe it's the reason that I'm one of the panelists here today. Of course, the use of thermally modified wood as a material has a huge role in this living room-like experience, I believe. The space itself provides, I mean, different kinds of experiences for different types of users. In time, the location certainly evolved into an interesting gathering point for groups of people as a space for idleness, I call it. However, it also serves as a space for contemplation too. I mean, this is somehow a hybrid state which allows one to stay alone while at the same time letting him or her to be a part of the crowd also. So, as you can see, these photographs are somehow hygienic photographs, which the reason is that they have been taken just after the opening. People weren't aware of the situation yet. But today it's one of the most popular attraction points in the city. It looks like this most of the time. And this. Before wrapping up, I'd like to talk about the other one also, which is approximately 200 or 300 meters away from the Sunset Lounge. This is called the Pavilion by the Sea. As you can see, it's a steel canopy structure with wooden shades on. We designed this structure above a series of cascading wooden platforms. Although the material emphasis on this intervention seems to be the steel this time, but I think timber still plays a major role on spatial quality of the public space. Like the Sunset Lounge, the location is nowadays in high demand, also among citizens. But unlike Sunset Lounge and its mostly casual use, people also come here for a set of predefined activities, which makes it different from the other project. For example, sometimes musicians gather here for rehearsals, or every morning and afternoon, groups of people use the cascading platforms for their daily yoga or meditation exercises. I believe that even a minor change in the quality of the public space can make a huge difference in the lives of people in cities. And sometimes the contribution of the material is really crucial for this impact. After the official opening of the Boston Sunset Lounge in the summer of 2016, we have made a small-scale social media scan to see the impact of our intervention in the daily lives of people. I remember that it was a time when the whole country, Turkey, was politically polarized, really, and everyone, regardless of their age, gender, political orientation, was really so tense. Everyone was fighting everywhere in streets, not in actual fighting, but like in social media or so. But on the contrary, what we saw in the social media was surprising for us. People were using hashtags, taking photographs, sharing their experiences, influencing each other to visit the site. We saw that they were simply happy just to be there. And furthermore, they were so eager to share their happiness with other people. We see that it's changed the space and with the material, of course, changed the quality of people's lives. And then I think it's a positive change. Thank you. I think I managed the time. Huh?
Wonderful. Yeah, you didn't even use the remaining 4 minutes. You added 2 more minutes to that, Evren. So okay. I'm proud with my panelists. So, and my job is even easier now. But and wonderful examples, really exciting examples, and also inspiring examples. So we have, may I say so? I mean, one, let's say, client, Therese, and 2 architects, right? So we have 2 sides being represented here. I'd like to have this question first to Therese as the client. How do you feel after this choice or this general strategy? It's a little bit nationwide strategy to use wood in general, but specifically as Skellefteå, applying this strategy and getting these, let's say, solid results. The bridge, the Sara Cultural Center. Will you continue? Will you also suggest this to other municipalities?
Oh yes, yes. We are part of. We're both client and editor from this, and we are part of a network which is nationwide, to even encourage other municipalities to create their own wooden strategies, due to the possibilities that we have in Sweden, joining, you know, nationwide in a way to contribute also with our wooden material all over the world, globally. But it is, as a client, I of course, being part of the process with the competition, I embrace the proposal that White made, which, you know, of course, kicked in every box. Yes, big applause. And you know, it's brought something. It's brought something of pride, which also we laid a very courageous, I would say, courageous platform for in the beginning, that we wanted to create pride. And this is it's part of the strategy going forward. Also talking about what we can do more in wood. You know, it's part of our heritage in all over Sweden, but I would say particularly north of Sweden, because it's a material that is very, very close at hand. And also the Sara Kultur, you could say it's homegrown, because it's a result of the material wood from within 120 kilometers from Skellefteå. I mean, you know, it's homegrown, and that in itself is also, you know, it's making it very, you know, very making it very natural. It's a natural way to go. But there's so many things to say about it, really. You know, yes, we are clients in this, and we are very happy that also the construction companies and the developers are starting to, you know, to follow it. But first of all, you know, you can have all strategy in the world. I mean, you do all the good work and you hang in there, but you need legislation. You need, you know, you need actual figures behind it, the LCA, that shows you that you will get actual results in your climate work. And of course, there's different views on that, but it is, you know, you can't sit down and do nothing. That's very true.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive answer. I felt like these both projects are kind of becoming landmarks, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't want to pronounce another name, you know. There are some iconic buildings that actually brought cities into the attention of the world. So for example, for us, for architects, definitely it is so. But Therese, was it the case for you too? For example, did Sara Cultural Center created an extra attention for your city?
Absolutely, and it's you know, it's and I think it's the same way, you know, seeing the landscape. Yeah. I mean, well. I would, you know, directly I want to go there. I want to experience it. I think it's beautiful, and it's beautifully done. And we could learn from that as well, you know, going a bit more, you know, creating the landscape, and it's a bit more where safe, you know, the way I like it a lot. But it gives us attention, it gives us the attraction, and it makes people, you know, want to be part of it. So what we've seen since we opened the Sara Kultur, or actually before, is that we have drawn a lot of attention to ourselves through this, and showing it to a lot, to the point where we actually have to turn down visitors, because we have a work to do, and we can't, you know, we can't do only that, showing what we've done. We have to push it forward, you know, further. We have to create the rest of the city and follow up our intentions.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I mean, you should be lucky, Robert, to have such a client, by the way. Yeah? Was it easy to convince them? How was it, Robert, in your case? It's easy to speak after you do it.
Yeah. Now we can, and now everything you know. No, it's. I mean, of course, we took this. This is a public competition that was not paid.
Yeah.
So we did a risk by choosing that project. So our aim was really to see how far you could push timber in a public building or with a complex content and in a situation in the city center. And it didn't say in the program of the competition this has to be in timber. But we of course we knew that Skellefteå is really progressive in timber buildings, and they want to be a part of this SWIFT. So I think we did. We needed to prove that not just that we were going to do a fantastic culture center that fulfilled, I mean, the content of the building. It also needed to be in timber. So you can't. We didn't want to. Oh, we're going to do this in timber, and then it could also work as a culture center. So we need to do a culture center that could be made in timber. And I think since it's a pilot, and since I mean, we had in mind that this was going to be a showcase for sustainable design. So it needed to not lose in any of the aspects.
Exactly, very challenging, because that's a one-shot thing in our sector. Because if you did blew this chance, maybe that would be the end of this choice forever. So you have to be really careful in that case. Thank you, Robert. Yeah. So how was the case in? Sorry, you want to say something else?
No, I mean, for us learning about the characteristics of the timber, it also made us realize that you get all that tactility for free when working with timber. We didn't need to do much ornamentation because the timber made it for us. Wonderful to hear this. And as pioneers, you opened the road for the other colleagues. Evren, how was the case in Izmir? I mean, how was your relation with the client? Was it easy to convince them for the use of wood, or in general for this lounge idea?
Yeah, I think we before we use that much of a wood, there has never been a case in any public space, I believe, in Izmir, of course, to use wood, timber in open air public spaces, because there is a misconception that timber is not suitable for, rain, wind, sun, and seawater. But that may be true for old uses, but actually thermally modified wood, which is really a strong material, and it has a good performance on public spaces. We convinced the client. I mean, I remember that they were, as I've told you in the presentation, they were some kind of skeptical in both the function, because the function is interesting. They asked us, what will people do here? And we told them they were just go and watch the sunset, and then they anyways, so we convinced them both in function and then with the material, because I believe that what we did in Sunset Lounge was so hard to achieve with any kind of other material, because it's a furniture by itself. So you don't go and sit on something which is prepared for you on a public space, but you sit on the lounge. So it's the furniture itself. So it has to be some kind of a warm and nice material to touch and feel. We realized that we have made an excellent choice when we saw when it was open to the public, and people were letting their toddlers and babies
Exactly.
freely moving on the lounge. So it was not something that you could see in any public space which was constructed by any other material. So if that was the answer to your question, or just
yeah, it was wonderful. I just thought you were.
So after the opening, just coming back to your question, after the opening, and like us, the clients saw these, and they were convinced better, I think, with the results.
I have an idea, Evren. You know, although you didn't use those 4 minutes, you still owe some coffee, maybe in the lounge.
Yeah, I will.
The panelists.
I'm waiting, especially Therese. Please come. I will give you a personal tour.
Thank you. I would love.
We also can join.
All of you.
Perfect. You know what I'm going to do? We have some questions, nice questions, but I have only 2 minutes left for this session. So I'm going to carry the questions to the Q&A session, and I'd like our audience who have questions to ask their questions in person by having their cameras and voice open. But here, if there is anything you panelists would like to add or ask to each other, please take the, let's say, mic.
I'm really too happy to hear exciting and sophisticated ways of using wood in Robert's presentation, and also as a client, Therese's presentation. We are in Turkey, we are still toddlers in using wood and timber, so we just cover some surfaces, but we'll get there, I think.
Yeah, we actually in north of Sweden, companies here, they've actually exported whole bridges whole bridges of in CLT and in glulam bridges for cars and for high load. So it's it's been done, and there's some bridges that were exported as far as Japan, I know. But it's also there's work to be done because the certifications are so different in different countries, and that's where the main work, if this should be the global way to do it. And also I think the forestry industry and the and the certifications there and how that is done. There's a lot. We're all toddlers in a way. But we have different experiences. So that's why these sort of meetings are so important, to learn from each other. These interfaces, which we are right now in one, are very important. Very important.
Exactly, and we're really thankful to you for accepting our invitation and enriching this, let's say, very precious meeting with your very valuable experiences, and also maybe create some new opportunities for further collaboration, and also having better examples, more examples in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Robert,
Thank you very much.
would you like to say something?
No, I think, of course, enable a project like this needs a lot of guts from all stakeholders, and the wood sector in Sweden and the public sector has been really a driver to make this able to happen. And at this moment, I have so many calls from contractors and from private developers wanting to come up and see this building in Skellefteå and want to learn more about how it's assembled. So I think we are on the verge to a really big change here in Sweden towards a more sustainable building technology.
Wonderful. I'd like to say one word that I forgot in the beginning. in such a pioneering experience to another pioneer that founded our republic, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. It was the day he passed away, 10th of November, and we owe him a lot in having all the possibilities of this republic. So let him rest in peace and respect. So we'll pass now to the Q&A session, and thank you very much to all our panelists and to all our audience and to all who are behind the stage and those who curated this wonderful event. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in the Q&A.